How do I find direction in my life? As someone who has struggled with direction in the past, who couldn't figure out what they want to do and commit to it, I think I can kind of share some of my information and some of my knowledge to help you figure out how to find direction in your life. My name is Chris Richardson. I'm a coach here at Life in Your Terms, and I make these videos to share that information, to share that knowledge, to hopefully have you have this transformation a lot quicker than I ever did. So by the end of this video, you will understand our 4-step framework at Life on Your Terms, and then how to apply it, how to ask yourself these questions, and how to work through this framework so that you can find direction in your life. And I promise you by the end of this video, you will have a better idea of your direction. So with that being said, the first step to finding direction in your life is to stabilize. What I mean by stabilize is to take inventory of your life. A great way to take inventory is to take the balance wheel in the description below. I'd encourage you to wait till the end of the video, but it looks at the professional, it looks at your relationships, it looks at your health, and it looks at your resources, because all of these things are interconnected, and so taking inventory of them is a really good idea to start. So once you've taken inventory of your life, you have to ask yourself, what's the problem? So in your instance, it's defining direction in your life. So maybe it's more specific. Is it, you don't know what direction you want to go in your company? You don't want to, if you want to stay at this company. Maybe you don't have direction within your family or your health. It's looking at these things and figuring out what is the problem specifically that you are trying to solve, and where do you want more clarity and more direction. From there, you have to ask yourself, what happens if I don't make this change? I'd imagine if you clicked on this video, it isn't the first time you've thought about this. And I commend you for taking the time to look through this stuff. But you have to ask yourself, what happens if you don't change? What happens if you keep doing the same thing you're doing and you don't get the clarity that you need? That's what stabilization is for, kind of getting a baseline, figuring out where we're gonna go. From there, we're gonna move to the second step within the framework, which is visualization. What does amazing look like? And a great way to look at and figure out the categories of amazing is to look at the balance wheel. Once again, look at the inventory you've taken. Maybe you've got a 3 out of 10 in your family life. What is amazing like? What if it's 10 out of 10 in family life? And you can do that for all the areas of the balance wheel, give you a good idea of where you want to go. So we stabilize, so we got an idea of the problem. Now we're looking at where we want to go. And again, if you're struggling with direction, a good way to figure out your direction is to go through these 4 situations. Now, these 4 situations are, if you had unlimited money, someone came to you, said, hey, you got $200 million. What would you buy? What would you do with it? If you had a limited time, someone said to you, hey, I'll pay you $250,000 a year, but you just have to be working on something you love. What would you do? Doctor says to you, hey, you got 3 years to live, but for the 3 years, you will be completely healthy. What would you do with your time? If you had an expiration date, what would you do? Or if you were at your 100th birthday and you were hearing about all your legacy and everything you've done, what would you want to hear? When you write out those 4 things, it'll give you a good visualization of each of them. Each of them have some overlap, but they're kind of different. And you'll look at, oh, you know what? I see on my 3-year expiration date, I would be traveling a lot. I would be making sure to spend time with family, and I really think I just want to be present in my life, and that's the direction I want to take. Well, there you go. You got a better idea of the direction you want to take. And those 4 situations can help you identify the direction and then look at what does amazing look like with that direction. Now, after you visualize, we've stabilized, we got an idea, we visualized, we looked at what's amazing. Now we got to figure out how do we go from here to here. And that's where strategy comes in. Strategization is the 3rd step. So we've identified what we're going to pursue, but how are we going to pursue it? How are we going to get there? What systems do we have in place? So maybe you've decided, okay, my new direction is to make health a #1 priority in my life. I want to lose 30 pounds. That's what amazing looks like for me. Well, how do you get there? You probably need a diet. You're gonna need a plan. You're gonna need a gym. You're gonna need a time to go to the gym. And how are you gonna put those systems and those strategies in place to make yourself successful? I use fitness because it's simply an easy example that really everybody can understand. Same thing with a business. You wanna get to $1 million business. How are you gonna get there? You're at $0 now. What product are you gonna implement? What marketing? What sales process? Stuff like that. how are you going to get there? And the strategy is just looking at, okay, how am I going to get there? What systems? What's going to be most successful? From strategy, we now have to execute upon the strategy. And that's the fourth piece, is execution. It really boils down to action. I think this is the most important piece. All three pieces are really important before this, but they're more thought models, whereas execution is just simply action. So you have to understand is what action you're going to take. You have these systems. Now it's time to start taking action. And you're not going to feel probably really great about your direction until you start taking action upon that. So if you have a direction of making health a big priority, it's time to start taking action. Once you start taking action, you're going to feel really good about that, and you're going to feel confident in the direction that you've chosen. Now with execution, you have to ask yourself, what barriers or what obstacles are going to come up along the way? What's going to try to prevent me from losing the 30 pounds or getting the $1 million business? Ask yourself what obstacles that can help you preemptively plan for those obstacles so you don't run into them and they don't stop you in your progress. You're able to just go over them instead. And then finally with execution, it's monitoring and adjusting. After you start to implement these changes, take these actions, have these systems, and you're like, you know what? I have a better marketing system for my business. Or, I think this workout may work better to help me burn more calories and lose more weight. So it's just monitoring and adjusting as you go. So this is how you find direction in the life. You made it to the end of the video. Now go take that balance wheel so you can start this whole process for yourself, and like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.